Welcome back in. It's Ryan Lipsey and Haley Collier with Tightcore Title.
Hey, what's going on, Ryan?
What's up? We have another small business spotlight today, and we are honored to be joined by Maryam with INFUSE Theory Coaching. How's it going, Maryam? Welcome.
Excellent. I'm fired up. Thank you for having me on your show today.
Absolutely.
We are so honored to have you because you are just a powerhouse of a woman, and you've already partnered up with some incredible women here in San Diego. Like, we work with Sandra, and you've already partnered up with her, and we are so honored to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, so we wanted to get to know a little bit about you, and our audience is obviously realtors and people in the real estate space, but tell us about where you've had your big wins and had all your success in the insurance industry and how you're transforming that into your coaching platform and how we can apply this to realtors and bankers and mortgage specialists out there to really scale their business.
Well, you know, I've been working for over 25 years. I was raised by a single mom who had a very strong work ethic. Back in the days when women weren't playing CFO levels, she had an opportunity to do that. So work ethic was always important, but it was never about the money aspect. It was about impacting others, and through that process being able to impact yourself. And I was always passionate that no matter what I did in business, wanted to learn from people that were better than me, wanted to learn not to reinvent the wheel, and in return, then be able to share that with others. So, you know, I've worked with Lucent Technologies, which was business-to-business phone sales. Later on, I was a headhunter for Robert Half International. So recruiting is, you know, a heartbeat of any organization.
Sure.
After that, I went and finished my master's in education. And it wasn't because I wanted to be a teacher in a classroom. It's because as a businesswoman, I wanted to learn what are the different ways to bring out the best in people and to be able to educate them through the process. And this somehow lands into me getting into the insurance and investment industry.
Imagine that.
Yes. And I was 29 at the time, and I had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old daughter. Later on through this journey, I even get pregnant and end up having my son. Today, those kids are 20, 16, and 12. So, and I've been married 23 years. I'm a believer that you can do anything you put your mind to. You can be a strong businesswoman. You can be an amazing mom. You don't need to feel guilty that you're teaching your kids what good work ethic means and doing it right and helping a lot of people as you're helping your family. And in turn, you could also be a great spouse. So does it take a lot of effort? Does it take a lot of time? Yes. But anyone who's successful is putting in high activity, high impact. And the passion ultimately is driving where you're going.
Wow.
I know. Well, that's incredible. And I love that you bring in the aspect of being at home, a mom and a wife, and being involved with your family and friends and having that social aspect, but also being a successful businesswoman and running a business and knowing how to take charge and, like you said, work ethic. And you can do it all. And I mean, you have some awesome coaching platforms, right? That kind of help go over what we have for that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, well, you have leadership, you have sales, you have, first of all, you speak with such gravity, and I can tell you're a woman of conviction, and I'm inspired already, frankly. So let's get this coaching thing on the road. So tell me a little bit, so you evolved through being a successful insurance salesperson, headhunter, mom, and spouse. Awesome. I salute you.
Thank you.
Back to your coaching platform. So you take leaders and sculpt them and shape them into being better leaders. How do you go about doing that? Do you have any bullet points or any different things that you tackle specifically for leadership training?
Yeah, I could tell you that I've been a salesperson, solo salesperson in the field. And I've taken that from going into entry-level leadership roles.
Okay.
And I've built a team from scratch. And every year, I became a better leader, a better producer. Ultimately, to the point where I had 120 agents in San Diego at one point, 3 locations, becoming the first regional director for a Fortune 500 after 136 years. I was the first female. And at that point, I was overseeing about 500 agents total in different regions. The leader I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, I'm not today. None of us are perfect, and none of us will ever reach that ultimate level because there's always room for improvement. Mm-hmm. But I'm passionate about impacting the masses. One of the reasons I walked away from such a high-powered role, and everyone knows when you're in the field, the people in the field make the most money versus the home office personnel. So you could imagine how much also income I walked away from. Because this journey, this step today, is for me to impact people in sales and leadership in all industries. Why should I only have the pleasure of working with people that came into my world if they were going to go pursuing, insurance or investment? Why not impact anybody in sales and in leadership?
And I believe you have a message to carry to all those that do sales, outside sales, leadership, and management. That's strong. I
walked away. It took me a year to build the curriculum. I didn't just right away say, here's my company, here's my logo. I wanted to make sure that the roadmap to my final destination was laid out. So I built a curriculum there's 4 categories. There is sales. These people, it's between them and their client. They're not interested in going into leadership roles. They lead themselves only. And they need to master certain skills. Then there's the leadership course. These people are leading more than themselves. Not only they have to develop themselves, what I call ultimately being a legacy leader, but they're developing other leaders. And at the same token, they also have to keep their eye out on their salespeople.
Like in a sales team leader role.
I was going to say, I think we have a good example here.
And you guys have done a phenomenal job. I can't say how grateful I am that you were somehow introduced to my life and later you. And I'm not saying this because we're on camera, but the opportunity, the collaboration, having each other's back, appreciating the hard work that we do, even though we're in different industries, and ultimately the love we give to impact people because we genuinely mean it.
Yeah.
It's my kind of people.
Well,
and
we
I'm
share
learning
a lot of
from
core
you.
values. We give it away to keep it, right? We're outside of self, and helping others to get to where they're going helps us to get where we're going, right? Intrinsically, we come along for the ride. We say it all the time. So I'm super excited to introduce you to our client base. And, the message hits the mark. We have single operators. We have mega team leaders. We have brokerage leaders. We have multiple office, brokerage, company leaders. So I think you have an arrow to hit every target out there for coaching in the coaching world. Don't you think, Haley?
Oh, I would have to agree. And I mean, going over some of the bullet points that we were looking at, one of your main things is like goal setting, right? So it seems like you're really passionate about like goal setting and helping people really hit their goals. So I noticed that was definitely something that was in the 4 different trainings. So tell me a little bit more about like, how do you really dive into goal setting with your clients? Like, what do you do to really pull out what their end results are, what they really want to accomplish? Because it's hard for people sometimes, like, they're like, oh, I want this as my goal. But it's like, okay, you kind of have to work backwards sometimes. Like, you can't always have the best Mercedes and the biggest house on the hill. You have to kind of work backwards. So, like, how do you help your agent or your clientele kind of break that down and give them more of a reality of a goal setting?
Excellent question. And I love the fact that we're doing this on the fly, too, because it has to come from the heart. Before we talk about goal setting, we have to talk about having the right mindset. So depending on whatever package you decide to select to work with me on and my team on, it's about understanding the why. Why did you go in sales? How are you impacting others? How important is your role when you don't maybe even realize that?
Yeah.
And why, with your efforts, you're choosing to either take away impact or provide more impact. So we talk about that as a leader. We talk about that if you're solo in the field. When we're going over goal setting, you're absolutely right. And I want to talk about something too. You can't do it number one for money.
No.
Yeah.
Because if money's your number one driver, that's when you start to cut corners. That's when you start to jeopardize compliance.
And it won't get you through the valleys.
And it's not going to get you through the valleys. And when you lose that big client or you lose that big opportunity, that's when you go through the yo-yo, emotional yo-yo, and the roller coaster ride.
We talked about it on this stage before, have 100 reasons why so that the reasons why not get obliterated by all of your reasons why.
Right.
Well, and I mean, being in a sales world, we have to have that adversity. It comes in this, it's the nature of this business, having that kind of adversity, and it can't always be about the money, and it is about the long-term game. I mean, we just talked about this before we got on camera. It's a marathon. It's not a short-term sprint, and we made it, and we're successful, and all right, we're done. Like, that's it. Let's kick the tires now. And so it's so true. You have to really develop your reasons why. Like, why are you passionate about what you want to do to get to your goals? Is that kind of like the structure of it?
Yeah, it is. And about goal setting, you have to look at if you're passionate and you believe in what you do, and you know that every day you're putting someone in a better place than you found them, and you strive to always remain a student while you're even impacting others. I personally have a coach and a mentor. I was talking to him the other day. Even though I'm a coach, I also have my own
I don't
coach.
trust a coach that doesn't have a coach.
So when people are out there and they're not spreading their wings to be a student and sort of learn from all directions, they're missing the boat. And they might get there, but it's going to be a much slower ride.
Absolutely.
Than if you have people that have done what you want to do and want to share the mistakes they've made, want to share the successes they had so that you don't have to learn the hard way. With goal setting, we talk about what is that annual goal, but we'll never drive it on an annual basis. I introduced what is called the 12-week year. So we're actually celebrating 4 years in a 1-year span. So we're not doing an end-of-the-year Christmas party. We aren't doing an end-of-the-year celebration. I don't want to wait a whole year to find out that your wife or yours, was pregnant, or that you just went through some sort of a wedding, or you have 3 kids. I want to be able to reset the button on a quarterly basis so that if you had a bad quarter, let it go. That year is over. Let's start with a new year. So we take the annual goal, we divide it in 4. That gives us 4 quarter goals to hit. Then we take that quarter and we divide that in 3. What are we supposed to do for each month? And then at the quarter, when you did well above that, minus it from the second. And if you went below, add it to the second quarter. And then we bring that down to daily activities, which will help you reach your monthly goal. So you're peeling back the onion, and if you bring it back to what do you have to do every day in order to reach this monthly goal, in order to reach this quarterly goal, and ultimately to guarantee surpassing your annual goal.
That's fantastic.
And that's what we talk about.
I love it. I love that it's broken up into smaller pieces, because it's like, I mean, what is it? You can't, the easiest way to eat an elephant is 1 bite at a time, right? So, I mean, if you have this huge goal, you have to break it up into 4 quadrants. I love that. That's something
and people have these throwaway lines like, we'll start with why and the how is easy. But that doesn't mean you don't need to have a how. You need to have a protocol. You need to get granular on what activities are money-making activities, et cetera. And you build it all in together. You have the why, which drives the goals, but then you have the metrics of these things need to get hit or else those goals don't get hit, right? I love it. Thank you, Maryam. That
I know.
was really
I'm
nice.
like, we need to talk after that, because that needs to be implemented. I like having having 4 years in one, because it, like you said, you hit the reset button.
And we really concentrate on that year 2 or that year 3. So you really have 4 celebrations per year.
That's cool.
4 team outings per year. They're mini ones instead of one massive grand one where you might have lost people along the way that you could have retained. Because this is all about recruiting, retention, production. That's business. And what is everything you need to do inside of these in order to develop a thriving organization?
Well, I couldn't think of a better gift to give our audience and our single operators, our team leads, our brokers, our business owners in and out of real estate, whether you're in banking or if you're doing flips or if you're doing mortgages. Maryam, what a gift you've given our program. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Covered leadership. Prospecting for the win was one of your bullets. That was my favorite, because we only love to prospect every day. But we will, if I were to be intrigued the way I am, and this video might get you a couple clients here, how could I find you and how could I sign up for your services?
So my company is called INFUSE Theory.
Okay.
I'm going to infuse these best practices. These are theories that I'll guarantee you, if you put into play, you're going to be more than a six-figure earner. It is for the field, by the field. It's 25 years of me having that sweat, blood, and tear and learning from what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
And the logo is a pair because we're going to pair up. People ask me where the pair comes from. So it's www.infusetheory.com.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, I recently had to get on Instagram to learn how to promote this because as a former president and CEO, I just didn't need to be in that space.
So that's why we keep this millennial around here.
So follow me. So follow me at Infuse Theory. Give me some love. Give me some some comments. Tell me what you agree with. Challenge me as I challenge you, and let's just all win together.
Well, and the big clients
I love it.
The big clients and friends of the program that we've already sent Maryam's way are thrilled. You're doing some breakout sessions. You're doing some real in-depth coaching and analysis with one of my really dear friends. So, and 5 stars have been all the reviews.
Thank
so,
you.
more
Thank
to come,
you so
I'm
much.
sure. And until next time, until we meet again, thank you for making time for this,
Thank
Maryam.
you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
That's Haley Collier. I'm Ryan Lipsey. We're Tycor. We're glad to have you in another episode. Until next time.